This is Introduction and Overview, Part 4. Among the readings for this week is a blog post from a law librarian. He is bragging about how great library catalogers all are. And while that is very kind and very true, the post also includes some informative points about the guidelines we follow in our work. That is the basis of library cataloging. He noted that, although much of their work is behind the scenes and invisible to most of us, catalogers continue to play an important, critical role in enabling us to find the information essential to our going about our daily lives, both at work and at home. He posed the question, have you ever wondered how all the information in library online catalogs, or OPACs, is collected and organized in a way that makes it accessible and useful to us when we need it? And the answer. As it turns out, the process of collecting, and especially organizing, this information and making it accessible to us is quite rigorous, involving complex, exacting standards and rules. To ensure consistency and overall coordination of these processes both within and among libraries, it has been essential to establish well-coordinated and agreed-upon standards and conventions which catalogers can rely upon to provide maximum benefit to end users. Since today's topic is about the history of the development of those standards and conventions, I'll start out by quoting once more from David Badertscher's blog post. For cataloging standards to remain relevant, they must take into account various factors including the preservation of the integrity and accessibility of the collection being cataloged, the mission of the organization housing or hosting the collection, needs and concerns of end users, and changes in information needs and cultural values over time. Depending on circumstances, such changes may necessitate either comparatively minor revisions or major revisions, in order for these standards to remain relevant as the basis for effective cataloging. As you've seen, revisions have taken place many times, and you'll find that they are still ongoing. To introduce the concept of cataloging, I intend on covering these topics. Though I am primarily here to talk about cataloging, it is impossible to do so without also talking about technical services in general. As you started to see, everything in libraries is tied together somehow. Also, as we move forward, know that much of what I tell you is introductory. I've tried to boil everything down to the most general and basic elements, which means that a lot of robust and granular information is left out, but I hope that it helps you get your feet wet and allows you to at least have a frame of reference as you start to learn more of the detailed and complex aspects of everything throughout the semester. There's a lot to it, as you can see, and we will get to a lot of this in more detail throughout the semester as well. You've likely already explored this concept at a more abstract level in another course, so this is a review. It is through the lens of bibliographic description or bibliographic control. In practice, for our purposes, bibliographic description is traditional library cataloging. In order to represent information, we take different actions depending on the need, the purpose, and the desired output. This course will help you put traditional library cataloging into practice. It may also inform your understanding of both indexing and abstracting at a theoretical level, but those will not be the purposes of this semester. At the highest level of our concept of information representation is the activity of bibliographic control. It is indeed an art put into practice under specific guidelines and within established frameworks. To grasp the concept of bibliographic control, it is useful to understand the elements and the terminology. You will find that cataloging is a very jargon-heavy area of librarianship, and quite often different words are used interchangeably. I will try to lessen the negative impact of that as I go, but I apologize if I suddenly use an unfamiliar term. Feel free to ask for clarification. Bibliographic information is the data describing something. It is the data used to describe a library resource, like a book or a CD. An entity is that resource itself. An entity is also a thing related to a resource, such as a person or a topic. If it's capable of existing, even abstractly, and can be identified in such a way that distinguishes it from similar things, it's an entity. By calling it a bibliographic entity, we specify that it is a resource of interest to a library user, someone who takes advantage of that data to find that resource. The bibliographic universe encompasses all resources along with their descriptive data. You will likely know by now that everything we encounter is some form of information, even if it doesn't fit inside a box that limits it to words. Mere ideas and thoughts are information, and those ideas and thoughts may be embodied in a non-word, physical way that is itself information. A photograph is information, a sculpture is information, and we describe all of it. In order for users to retrieve and take advantage of descriptive data, it must be housed in some kind of system that allows for it to be found and ingested in a meaningful way. Traditional library cataloging as we know it is a subset of the broader bibliographic control. Catalogers enter the data points about a library resource so that someone can find it and also determine if it is what they wanted to find. So, cataloging is creating descriptive metadata about stuff, arranging stuff so you can find it, and generally answering questions about the stuff you have. In library-based cataloging, that stuff is the stuff a library has in its physical and digital collections, or other things to which they provide access. In most cases, instead of stuff, or even item, I'm going to use the word object or resource to stand for any kind of stuff, and I'll talk more in detail about what a catalog is later.